welcome to another episode. We are going to talk about animation and how actually to animate objects. So let's get started. So what is animation? What does it actually mean when we talk about animation? Well, let's say that we have a red box, and to animate it, we're talking about moving the box on the screen. Now, normally you just see a box moving on the screen and you're like, yes, it's animating, but how do you actually do it? Well, if you've ever done an old school flip book where you've taken a pad of paper and drawn little pictures on each screen and then flipped through it, that's basically an animation. It's that in each page you redraw the same thing except you move it forward a little bit. So for in this case with the box, we would basically erase the box and not draw it, and then we would draw it just a little bit to the right, and that would be animated. And so we'd keep doing it and then do it again. Now, for this one, you want to know, like, how do you actually learn how to do this animation? One of the ways to do it is to kind of listen through the video itself, and then at the end, try to do it yourself. You can also follow along. Either ways would be a good way to try it. All right, let's go to the code. So, for this, we're going to use the P5.js editor here. And we have a basically box on the side, which is our canvas, and we have a background. And so to get this working, we're just going to actually draw a rectangle. We're basically going to draw a square in the top left. So we can do that by doing the top left is X is 0 and Y is 0. And we can do the box basically a 20 by 20 box. So if we do that, and I'm running this in the automatic refresh mode, so as I type the code, it basically shows it here. So now we have the box actually drawing. Now we need to animate it. So in order to do that, we need to keep track of it, because every time right now it's drawing it, where is it drawing it? It's drawing it at 0. So we actually want to have a variable. So up at the top is where we put our variables. In this case, we're just going to call it variable a equals 0. So this says var says we're going to declare a new variable. The name of the variable is a, and we're going to set it equal to 0. So now we're running it, but nothing has changed because we actually have the variable here. So what we need to do down here is to actually increment the variable. So we can say a equals a, and then add some to it. So let's do a equals a plus 5. Now our box still isn't animating. Why not? Because we're not actually using it in here at all. So in this case, we would like this box to go to the right. The right and left, that is the x-axis. And since it's to the right, that means it's actually increasing on x. So to increase on x, we actually want to add a onto here. And now if we watch, it actually goes across the screen. Now you'll notice that it went across the screen and hasn't come back yet. Now if we make a change to the editor, we can basically have it actually start over again. But what we'd really like is to have it, once it gets to the side of the screen, to actually have it come back. So let's go back to our presentation here. So we actually want to use something called an if statement. The if statement basically has two parts. So in the if statement, there is the when it should do it. And then the second part of the if statement is what to do. And that goes between the two braces, similar to how we would put things in there. So for the when to do it, this is where we're actually going to do checking to see if something is true or false. And if it's true, then it's going to do the what to do. So the things that we can put in here are things like greater than something, less than something, greater than or equal to. And you can see it's not a single character, but it's two separate characters, a greater sign and equal to. And the other one that's kind of weird is the not equal is the exclamation point equal. And then if it's exactly equal to, you actually use two equal signs. So in this case, we want when the box is greater than the right side of the screen. So let's break this down. So we have the box. So we're using the A to actually to draw the box. And so that's kind of the location of where the box is. So in this case, that's represented by A. The next part we said is when it's greater than. So in order to do greater than, we actually just use the greater than symbol. And for the right side of the screen, we know that our canvas is a 400 by 400. So we actually just want 400 on the screen. Okay, so that gives us the right-hand side, the box, and greater than. So A is greater than 400. And so in our if statement, we actually just put it right in there saying A is greater than 400. Now, the next part is we want to move the box to the beginning of the screen. So when A started off, it started off at 0, and that was actually at the beginning of the screen. So all we have to do in here is to put A equals 0, and then it sets it back to the beginning of the screen. So let's go back to the code. So let's do the same thing here. So if A is greater than 400, then we put our braces in, say A equals 0. Now let's see if it actually loops around. It does. So if we actually did it at 200, it would actually loop around when it just got to halfway through the screen. But we actually want it to do the whole way. Now, the next thing we actually want to do is we want to have a second box that starts here and goes down. So let's just do the same thing that we were doing before. So let's do rect and then do 0, 0, 20, 20. So this will draw a box, and you can see that the box actually is right here and it's not moving. And it's always drawing it, but it's not moving down. So in order to move it down, what do we actually want to do? Moving down is the y-axis. And since it's going down, that means y goes from 0 to 400. So going down means it's incrementing, so we're actually going to add to it. So all we do is in the y here, we actually do plus a, and then we should actually have two boxes, one going to the right and one going down, and then both looping. All right, so now that takes us to what we're going to call the animation challenge. So let's look at what we actually want to do. Your challenge is to actually to get it so that you have on all four of your corners, you have 3 boxes that start in each one, and you're going to have one box goes to the right, one goes diagonal, one goes down. And the same here, they'll all start off in the corner and they'll go up, diagonal to the right, and the same thing here, and the same thing here. And you can do all of it with what we just did and not using any more variables. You can just reuse the variable like we did with the first time. So go ahead and try the challenge. And if you want to see it solved, you can watch the next video for the solution for the animation challenge. Thanks,